One of the things that is a weakness of mine is paying attention during talks. So, I know it's a weakness of mine, and I'm going to do something that's going to help me understand that you guys are paying attention. Because I know when Larry gives a sermon, sometimes I'll notice my mind is wandering about when do the Dallas Cowboys play, and I'm wondering all kinds of different things. So I'm gonna have Jared. That one was for you. I'm gonna have a key word, and it's called shoot. So anytime I say shoot, I want to hear 2 snaps. Okay, so I say shoot. Okay, that's how I know you're paying attention, Sean. Let's try it again. Shoot.
The ball.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, you can do something else, but just something to acknowledge. Okay, so I'm going to start off with the Bible verse from Colossians 2, chapter verse 7, and it's, "Let your roots grow down into Him, and let your lives be built on Him. Then your faith will grow strong in the truth you were taught, and you will overflow with thankfulness." So again, I'm talking today about my roots. Again, Emily's husband, Zach's dad, Luke's dad, or Marky Mark. I'll go by any of those.
Oh, wow.
So when I was asked to give this talk, I don't have that aha moment in my faith walk where it's like, oh yeah, here's where my roots start. So for me, you can go to the next slide.
Okay.
For me, I was a little bit kind of thinking about, well, where do I start with my walk? And how do I explain to somebody how I got to where I am? So this analogy came to my mind, and sometimes it's hard to see the forest for the trees. And basically, in that analogy, it's sometimes hard to see the perspective. We're here, we're living the grind, doing our thing, and sometimes it's hard to really think about where am I in my walk. And so actually this talk, kind of preparing for this, was really a good kind of reminder of who I am and kind of how I've got to be where I am. So with that, I'm going to go into some early years. I grew up in Tulsa, Union Redskin graduate. Go Redskin.
Go Redskins.
Or Red Hawks, that's right.
No, Redskin, always a Redskin.
Yeah, once a Redskin, always a Redskin. So that's me with my Raggedy Ann and Andy lunch pail and my nap time. So I grew up, actually, my parents are both Catholic. They grew up at Catholic school. My grandparents are both Catholic. When I grew up, shoot. Thank you. When I grew up, I really went to Mass from an early age. It was just something we did on Sundays. Went through, had my, in order, I guess it's first confession, Eucharist, and confirmation. I know a bunch of you guys are in confirmation right now. But generally it was I would say I was raised good household. Both really good Christian parents. I wouldn't say they were the strongest of faith, but no, it was good Catholic upbringing. Although I will say, for the non-Catholics, you are blessed by not having to do confession. So, I'll frame this one up for you, for those of you that don't do it. It doesn't look like that picture at the church I went to, where there is a wall and it's divided and the priest can't see who you are. No, when I did it for the first time, I think I was 8 years old, and I'm literally sitting across from the head priest of our church, and I'm telling him, "Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned." And how nervous I was that first time before I had to tell him that I dumped the water on my sister's head when she was on the phone, and that was the sin that I had. But anyways, it's not like that. It is a very intimidating experience for a little kid to go through. But generally, I would say I had a good, solid foundation. I wouldn't say I had a strong. I didn't have a group like this. I didn't have really friend connections, but I was present at church, learning about the gospel, learning about the word. So I'm going to go off topic, and I'm going to talk about aspen trees. You guys know what aspen trees are?
Yep.
Yeah.
Aspen. There's a town named after it. Probably multiple towns. One in Colorado. That's right. Mesquite. So aspen trees. It's actually the most prevalent tree in North America. So they are really, they're seen most of the time in big forests, West Coast, East Coast, they're pretty much all around. But what they're known for is they have a really shallow root system. So aspen trees generally have roots that are maybe 12 inches deep. And instead of growing down, they grow sideways. And when they grow sideways, what gives them strength is they pop up in something called shoots. Shoots. That it's their root system is actually not strong individually by having the depth of that roots, but the trees are strong because they have shoots that grow out and interconnect them. So this says that the above ground aspens grow as individual trees, but below ground they're deeply rooted and interconnected with one common root system. So they're the most expansive growth of trees to share a common root system, and this means that a whole forest of aspen trees can be actually one living organism living in community at the same time. Anyways, I thought that was interesting, and hopefully we'll see how it connects to this talk. So I'm going to go into middle school. So I had a good elementary school. Middle school, probably not so much. I had a group of friends we were all good kids in elementary school. Going into middle school, 7th, 8th, 9th grade, I guess puberty kicks in. I don't know, testosterone, something, you start making maybe not the best of choices. So one of the things that we used to do in middle school was prank call. So you guys probably that's not really a hip term right now, but back in the day when we had the cordless phone that you pulled the deal up, we would prank call. So one of the things, I remember one time we were playing wiffle ball and we hit a ball and it went over in the neighbor's yard, and the neighbor got mad at us and was kind of grumbling under his breath and whatever, and so that night we called up Mazzio's and had 10 anchovy pizzas delivered to his house. He was not real happy about that, but he didn't know it was us because it was a prank call, right? There was no caller ID. You didn't have even a star 69 thing. The other thing that we would do on prank calls, and this one was an ongoing thing, was a couple of my friends had younger sisters, and we would get into the yearbook and the phone directory, and we would look up little kids, like 2nd and 3rd grade. We'd look at the pictures of the yearbook, and we'd find 2 kids, and we'd play matchmaker. So we would find a boy and a girl, and we would, these days they had the phone directory, so we would look up the girl's phone number, and we would dial her up, and we would take turns doing this, but we would say, and I don't know if I can get my voice as high pitched as I used to, but
Come on.
we'd say, "Hi Sally, this is Bobby from Mrs. Bonham's 3rd grade class. You know me?" Another kid said, "Yeah, Bobby. Why are you calling me?" Like, "Yeah, I think you're really pretty, and I want to know if you would go with me." And sometimes they would say yes. So it was just one of those things. But we had a kick about it. We did it. We actually did it with my friend's younger sister, and kind of got them in trouble a little bit. But anyways, we made, I would say, not the best of choices, and that was middle school. And as we went into high school, those choices started to get progressively worse. From things, and really it got worse in toilet paper in houses, throwing eggs at houses, doing tobacco, chewing tobacco, dip, smoking, beer, alcohol. By the time we were in high school, we were making bad choices. And I was with a group of guys that was really doing that. I think it's one of those things that's hard to, you kind of lose track of where you are and where you're going. And I had gone down a path that I think as Sean talked, no, actually it was Dennis that talked about it, where the seeds that I was planting were not on fertile ground. So I wasn't really growing at all at that time. But I think probably the eye-opening experience for me was my junior year. I was buddies going out on a weekend night, and I'm not here yet.
Oh, not here.
We're still here, yeah. So going out on a weekend night and went over to one of my friend's house, or actually it wasn't a friend, we were going to a guy that was a senior. We were juniors, the guy was a senior. I didn't really know him, I knew who he was. But my friends were becoming friends with him. And walk into his house, I had actually drove to his house, and when we walk in the door, we went through the garage door, and when we walked in, there's kind of a little kitchenette table area, and on the table there was hard drugs, like the white powder kind of stuff. And I looked at my friends, and I think at that time just kind of had this revelation of, this is not me, this is not who I am. So at that point, I just looked at my friends and was like, I gotta go. I need to get out of here. Can you get a ride home? So they said yes, and they did, and I left, and my life kind of from that point on took a path that was different than my friends. I think, is the next slide yeah. So, I think going back to the scripture, it says, let your roots grow down into Him, let your lives be built on Him, and your faith will grow strong, and the truth you were taught will overflow with thankfulness. So, at this point, I'll tell you the path that my friends took. One of them spent 10 years in jail for distributing narcotics and possession of illegal firearms. Another one of them passed away from a drug overdose after his second divorce. And my third friend had a lot of problems, a lot of issues, ended up joining the military and straightened up, got his life together, and he's actually still my best friend today. But my life turned a different direction at that time. So, turning away from my friends, luckily I had a good girlfriend at the time. But, one of the things I was also struggling with was basketball. Because I had made bad choices, I hadn't put myself in the situation probably to be where I should have been from a basketball perspective through my sophomore and junior year. I had not really dedicated anything to that, but this provided me an opportunity to really pray about and see what did I want to do with this extra time I was going to have. So I ended up, praying. Well, before that, my junior year, I barely saw a court. I was this tall, 6'2", when I was 7th, 8th grade, and so I was a center, and I had the skills of a center, and I never grew after that. So by the time I was a junior, I needed to be a guard, and I didn't have those skills, or I was still developing them. So, but anyways, I really prayed about that, about actually what should I quit, should I not, should I dedicate myself to try to get better and help the team. And anyways, long story short, I ended up talking to one of the assistant coaches. He encouraged me to stick with it and try to put myself out there and try to go through with it. And I ended up being by the time the season started, I was a captain of the team and started every game. We ended up winning 20 games for the first time in the history of Union basketball. We got ranked as high as number 2 in the state, and we did pretty well in the state tournament as well. So ended up, that was an opportunity for me really to kind of personally grow by, struggling through something with, so I prayed a lot about what to do with that situation. And really the teamwork aspect of that, I think, helped me grow as well. But I was really missing something. I really was missing, being in the church. I ended up, we graduated high school. At this point, I wasn't going to church. So my family had kind of petered out of, being consistent, and they weren't pushing me. And my friends, obviously, they weren't going to church. And so Emily was going to church, but I wasn't going with her. But anyways, at this point, I was, I think, in a pretty good spot as far as a prayer life, but it was all personal. And so I really wasn't growing any shoots at that point. Flash forward to college and kind of same thing. I'd say still kind of a personal walk. I didn't go to church. I didn't have a Lauren Moore in my life that kind of helped me stay connected to a church. I didn't have this experience that you guys have, which is a group of people that kind of helps you and encourages you. So I was really missing that. So really, I would say that my roots probably started to really develop when, after college, when I got married. So there's a beautiful picture there. But I think something that really sunk into me was standing in front of all my friends and family and basically saying that I was going to dedicate my life to my wife in holy marriage. Shoot. Sorry, I wasn't expecting that. But anyways, I think that kind of dedication to somebody else and something that was bigger than myself, our marriage, really kind of opened my eyes to, the fact that I think I needed something more than a personal relationship with God. I needed a community. I needed to share it with somebody. So, kind of moving forward along that, I got my first job, and like the third day of work, I went with my new boss, to a wastewater treatment facility in Cleveland, Oklahoma. We were doing an inspection. I know that sounds really exciting. But on the way back, he looked at me. We were on Highway 51. I can remember this because I was scared for my life. He's driving on Highway 51 in this like old Oldsmobile, and he looks over at me, like this, and he says, "Mark, do you know Jesus?" And my first thought is, look at the road, we're gonna die. But he had a boldness in his faith that caught me off guard. I wasn't expecting that question, especially at work. You think work, faith life, those two things don't go hand in hand. But and at the time it kind of like startled me, it caught me off guard because I knew Jesus, I prayed to Jesus, but I didn't really know what everything was about at that time. And so, I think I answered it the right way and kind of got him to where he was, satisfied with it. But that question really kind of stuck with me. And it really, I think him as a, Christian leader in the business world, I think he showed me a lot of things about how to treat people, how to, just do the right thing, work with integrity, and that you can really take, Christian values and apply them in the workplace. And I think that's something that's really kind of helped me throughout my career. So I think that, he was something that's brought her to shoot. Again, another person. Thank you. Shoot. All right, thank you. Anyways, another person that kind of allowed me to kind of grow. So, I think after that, start having kids, and I think for the grown-ups in here, I think you realize that the type of love that you have as a father for your children it definitely opens your eyes to the love that God has for us. So I don't think you can really quite imagine it until you actually have a kid of your own, you hold them in your arms, and you know that you're responsible for them. So I think that was another time where, experiencing that with my children really allowed me to probably better appreciate God's love for us. So, I think at that point I really started getting probably more connected through Sunday school, up at the church, doing volunteer things, just being more active, meeting more people. I think, again, that kind of helps get, your roots established. I think there's, I think when I was talking about with Luke, but with Zach, when Zach was born, when he came out, probably it was 15 seconds of not breathing or not making a noise, but it seemed like about 15 minutes. when he was born, he came out, and most babies cry right when they come out. Zach did, and it was quiet. So he wasn't breathing. His lungs weren't. He wasn't breathing. So again, that was something that nurses, doctors rush in, they cart him off, and that's something again that you feel that potential sense of loss that just kind of makes you realize what love is for somebody that I didn't even know then. So, but with that, obviously that caused permanent brain damage because look at him now. But I think other things. I think after that, there really, I think my faith. Yeah, shoot. I think after that, my faith journey really started to kind of grow. So I really got into coaching. I started with little Upwards kids, Luke's teams, and for probably 15 years, I probably coached, I would say, I'm probably under-exaggerating to say 50 different teams. But, again, that was just an opportunity for me to kind of commit my time and to provide service to really some kids and hopefully show them some things that they would take with them. I think after that, I've got men's retreats, walk to Emmaus, things like that, making connections. Again, shoots are sprouting up at this point in my life because I'm probably more aware of what's going on. I think here, another time, there's the mission trips, service projects, we do things through work, that type of things. And I think that's really that kind of connection with people doing things for the kingdom that, at least for me personally, allowed me to see the connection of Christ's love and what He wants for me, and that was those have really been opportunities for me to kind of grow in my faith. I think beyond that, we've got my dad there in the middle. The day that I prayed more than any other day was the day that he had quadruple bypass surgery. Again, those are things that are hard and you don't want to go through them, but there are days that, through that journey, I had shoots coming out. Because, you spend a day in prayer and you're going to get stronger. I think this past year I started doing Bible in a year, and I wish that Father Mike, which I'm doing, go figure, it's actually, I'm not Catholic. It's the one that popped up last January when I decided to do this. But Father Mike, I really wish he had this shoot thing, because a lot of times I'll go and I'll listen to a whole podcast, or like 30-minute podcast, and after I finish, I'm like, what the heck did I just do? But I've made it through it. I'm not. I'm on day 329, so I'm close. I'm about 5 weeks away from finishing it. And it's been a journey. I think I calculated about 7 days of my life here in the last year that I've been listening. And I think it was really an opportunity, again, to just kind of grow in that faith and have shoots popping up. So, at this point in my life, being an older man, I'm not ready to call myself old yet. But, so being asked to talk about the roots of my faith, I'm starting to be able to see the forest, through the trees. So, in that analogy, so I'm the tree, or one of the trees in the forest. When I look around me, I see these shoots that are all around me. And, they're sprouting into trees, and, my the experiences that I have, are really the interconnections with other people. Kind of like the aspen tree and the way that the roots of that aspen tree connect with each other. I think that it's that strength of being connected with other people that has really created the foundation for my faith walk. So, with that, will you bow your heads and pray with me? Lord, Please be with this group as we walk with you through our own individual faith journeys. Allow us to seek you, and in our life's high points and low points, trust and praise you. And our roots will grow strong. And let us recognize the people put in our lives that our roots can interconnect with to make us stronger for you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.